Welcome to the lecture on the House of Colalto history in the 19th and the 20th century. My name is Jan Koumar and my research interest is aristocracy in the 19th and the 20th century, in particular the noble houses that lived in Moravia, which is today the part of the Czech Republic.
But the history of the House of Colalto in the 19th and the 20th century is not isolated from its position in Moravia. The manors, castles and chateaux you are just watching in the footage were the material base of the family for 3 centuries, and in the end of the 19th century their extent reached nearly 11,000 hectares. Moreover, the Moravian possessions were hardly used as a main seat of the house members. The aristocratic life had a given rhythm. The summer sojourns, Christmas or autumn hunts were spent in the country, that is in Moravia, but winters belonged to Vienna. Understandably, the Colalto traces can be found in the former capital of the empire as well. Therefore, in this introductory video, I would like to tell you something about the Colalto domain, or in other words, about the 10th largest fideicommissum in Moravia. This should lay the foundations for understanding the complicated history of the house in the last 2 centuries.
Let's start with a short history overview. The House of Colalto is one of the ancient houses of the Lombardian origin. Its name comes from Italian Colle Alto, which means the high hill.
Legendarily, its name begins with a man called Rambaldo, the name that later became a tradition within the family. Rambaldo was given the first family privileges in the March of Treviso, just in the neighborhood of the powerful Venetian Republic.
Around the year 1000, the family members ruled the region as the Counts of Treviso.
Later, in 1110, the family members settled in the pre-Alps hilly countryside near the Piave River, where they built a castle which gave them their name, the Castle Colalto. In 1245, the man called Rambaldo VIII built another castle, San Salvatore.
The names of both castles got into the family predicate. Since that time, its members were the Lords of Colalto e San Salvatore, or in English, the Lords of Colalto and San Salvatore. The history of the House of Colalto in the lands of Bohemian crown begins with a man called Rambaldo XIII, or Rambaldo the Great.
In 1610, he was elevated to the rank of Empire Counts. At the beginning of the 30 Years' War, he fought for the Roman Emperor Ferdinand II, and in 1629 he conquered the Italian city of Mantua. Since his military services cost high sums of money, in 1623 Ferdinand II rewarded him for faithful services by selling him the domain around the town Brtnice, or in German Pirnitz. Later, Rambaldo enlarged this domain by purchasing the manor Černá and Deutsch Rudolec, and in his last will he connected them into a fideicommissum.
Now, fideicommissum is a term that needs some explanation. It was a form of possession in which the land passed down from father to his eldest son, but he didn't own it as same as you own your house or your car, but was only its lifelong administrator, who could enjoy all its benefits and revenues, but couldn't sell it, enlarge or reduce it or indebt it without the consent of the emperor. From holding the fideicommissum, the men living in morganatic marriages were excluded, as same as children born in such a marriage.
Besides their fideicommissums, the noble houses held allodial estates which provided the unmarried daughters or younger sons with the financial support. In the case of House of Colalto, the allodial estates Okřížky and Pokojovice were bought only in 1751. They were geographically connected to Brtnice Manor, but were administrated separately.
Fideicommissum gave the noble house its power. The estate stayed within the family and couldn't pass down to more sons or in more parts. For 3 centuries, the members of the House of Colalto could therefore be sure of their property base in West Moravia.
In 1768, with the consent of the emperor, the Fideikommissen was enlarged by two manors situated at the South Moravian border with Austria, the manors Uherčice, Ungaršic, and Písečné, Písling. From then on, due to its proximity to Vienna, the chateau in Uherčice was frequently used as a summer seat of the family members, while near Písečné, the family sepulchre was built after the house's elevation to the rank of princess.
In 1781, the House of Colalto got the Bohemian Incolet, the admission into the community of the state nobility, which, in a way, said that its holder indigenized in the local aristocracy. In 1822, the house was elevated to the rank of the Austrian princes, first in German. The title was connected with the position of the Moravian estates. The family branches living in Italy kept using the count title. In 1861, when the first parliament of the Austrian Empire was created, the members of the House of Colalto were given the hereditary seat in the House of Lords, or in German, in Herrenhaus.
Now, let's have a closer look at the Moravian estates I've briefly mentioned. Moravia creates the eastern part of what is today the Czech Republic, and the Colalto domain can be found in its west part. It was divided into three separated clusters, out of which the oldest, largest and central manor was Brtnice. The town Brtnice has a lot to offer to a common tourist even today. It's literally full of sites connected with the House of Colalto, whose coat of arms still decorates some of its buildings. Its magnificent castle was the capital of the Vaud domain and the main seat of the family. In its wing, between the first and the second courtyard, the central administration of Colalto Estates had its office. The manor used to have 8 forest districts, brickyards, breweries and farms. But the manor Brtnice hides much more. For example, the small chateau Příseka, the hunting mansion Aleje near Jestřebí, and most importantly, the chateau in Kněžice.
Welcome to Kněžice. Now we are in the second chateau, very close to Brtnice, just 4 kilometers on the south. This chateau used to be the place where the younger sons of the family usually resided in summer, where they spent their time. The chateau used to be much bigger. The part you see is the only one that's preserved. But on the west and on the east there used to be the farm buildings, which were destroyed in the 1950s.
It has already been mentioned that the manor Okřížky was a low deal. That's the reason for its blue color in this map. Besides the chateau you are just watching, it has its railway station on the Österreichische Nordwestbahn, which gave the small village a big impetus to develop. The proximity to the railway was the reason why the Colalto brickworks, sawmill and a farmyard were situated there. The second oldest cluster lied northeast of Brtnice. It consisted of a small manor Černá and Rudolec, both geographically connected. It was the highest point of the Colalto domain. The summit of the Arnolecké mountains touches the altitude of 693 meters. While the parishes in Bohdalov and Měřín were the administrative centers of the church, Chateau in Černá was the main administrative center of the cluster. The second and smaller chateau in Rudolec, which you are just watching, was mainly used for short stays during the hunting season. The third and last cluster was located at Austrian border, and unlike the previous manor, it had much warmer climate, more favorable to agriculture. It was created by two manors, Uherčice, whose chateau you are just watching, and Písečné. Overlooking the chateau in Písečné from a hill of Nové Sady, Neustift in German, the family sepulchre stands. Since 1822, one by one, 7 members of the princely line of the house were buried there.
Throughout the centuries, the House of Colalto also owned other places in Bohemia, Moravia and Austria. In the 17th century they owned Castle Veveří near Brno. In the early 19th century they owned Manor Braunsdorf in Lower Austria. and in the late 19th century they owned the Bohemian manor Libiechov or Libot. But there was one place that belonged to the house for centuries. It was situated in the capital of the empire, in Vienna.
In Vienna, a palace at Amhof Square belonged to the Fideikommissen. The palace is an important point for the tourists coming to the city of Valls even today. Young Mozart gave his first Viennese concert there in 1762, and its classicistic park creates a great background for one of the most romantic small squares in Vienna, Schulhof.
Throughout this lecture, you may have noticed that the visited sites are not in the pristine condition. The reason for their current state lies in the turbulent history of the Central Europe in the 20th century. But since I want to keep this video short and I don't want you to fall asleep, this will be a topic for another video. If you are interested, please follow this channel or visit my websites where you can find all my published articles on this topic. My name is Jan Koumar, and I'm looking forward to guiding you further through the history of the House of Colalto in the 19th and the 20th century.